welcome to another episode of the Perry Thomas Show. I'm your host and voice of Fighting Tiger football, Colin Sheffield. Alongside me, as always, Coach Thomas. Coach Thomas, you went on the road. You play against Bethel, or not Bethel, excuse me, that's next week, but you play against Cumberland Phoenix, right. And they come through, had Tim Tebow come and speak, and I don't know what he said. I wasn't there pregame to hear it, but it seemed like those Phoenix boys took it to heart.
Yeah, they did a good job. He did a great job. We got to hear it. He did a great job speaking pregame. But I thought that they came out and not only jumped on us early, but capitalized on our mistakes early, which was the key. They go down to score on their opening drive with a couple of big passes. And, as the head coach, you're thinking, well, it's no big deal. You got to settle in. Then we come back in our very first offensive play, pick up 6 or 7, but fumble it. And now, boom, they're getting ready to hit us again. And it just seems like for the first 20 minutes of the game, 25 minutes of the game, everything that could go wrong went wrong. I'm a firm believer you got to make some breaks. And not only could we not get any breaks, but we couldn't make any breaks. And they start getting momentum in front of their home crowd, which was packed because of the Tebow deal. And it just took us about 24, 25 minutes before we could settle down. Now, at that point, we started playing good football and actually battled pretty good the rest of the game, even before they subbed or anything else. But those first 24, 25 minutes was just rough. And I think that they just came out, and once they got on top, they did what they had to do. And with us still not having a lot of senior leadership on the field, it just took us a while to get our legs back.
We were talking about those tough breaks in the booth, and it just seemed like time after time, just some dropped interceptions. There was one that really sticks in my mind. Knox went up for an interception, had it in his hands, and it bats down right into the receiver's hands, and he runs that one in for a touchdown. There's just not much that you can do. You had, a freshman that was taking off the punt returns, takes it from the one instead of going for the touchback. Now he gets it back late, and then he fumbles it on the 20. But you do get that back when he runs a punt return touchdown later on in the game.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You speak of the Knox deal. At that point now you're thinking, whoa, we gotta do something here. We go up for the pick, come down with it, and we can't hold on to it, and another receiver's there to catch it and run it in for the TD. And those things you just don't expect to happen, right? We had good coverage. Their first big touchdown, we didn't have good coverage, but that one we had good coverage. Then the punt return, we were turning out. We probably should have fair caught it, or actually we should have been on the 10 and not even been fooling with it, because we stand on the 10 and we don't back up to catch a punt. We should, if they down it on one, that's fine, but it's probably going into the end zone. The freshman tries to return it out, and he's dynamic, so you can't blame him. He scores on the punt return later. But then they game tackle and the ball comes out. And it's just one of those deals where before you know it, they're on you. And when you're trying to fight to get back into this thing like we have this season, you're trying to get things back turned around. It's just a process, and it's frustrating for everybody, the head coach, the coaches, the players, the fans, community. But it's just a process you got to go through. We've been through it before, and we've succeeded. But the patience wears out, and we just got to keep battling. And the one thing I would give our guys, because I thought there was times in that first half that we could have just dropped our heads and quit, and we could have just threw the towel in. But they kept chopping wood. They kept trying. If you go back and look at it, we should have scored twice before halftime. So that's 14 points right there on the board. And then we had 3 more chances in the second half that we down inside the red zone. Inside the 20 that we didn't score on, we didn't finish drives. So, we conceivably could have came out of the game with a very tight game if we take advantage of our opportunities. We just didn't, and they did early.
We'll take a look at the box score here and see the game and some of our highlighted players. Gillis actually came in. Meglis started, but he left the game about midway through, and then Gillis came in. He had one heck of a ball game, 345 yards, a touchdown, threw that pick right at the end of the half as he kind of lobbed it up there. Luke Shepperson had one heck of a ball game too, 193 yards receiving and a touchdown. And then D'Angelo Davenport, 10 tackles, a tackle for loss, and that the pass breakup. The defense really got back into the game. You talked about how they battled back, and I thought it was all about adjustments. The team really seemed, the player would make the mistake, and it seemed like that next play, or you see it again, the team was able to shut it down and stop it.
Yeah, and I thought that Coach Burnett and the guys did a good job of focusing on the correct things. You know, the easy thing to do is just go crazy over it, right? You're like, we worked on this, and you just go off on guys. But we got to realize, too, we still got 2 sophomores and 2 freshmen starting on that back end. And as good and dynamic as they can be sometimes they're going to get beat. You know, I've had all conference seniors that get beat. So sometimes they're going to get beaten. The best thing they can do is not drop their head and keep fighting, keep battling, correct those technical things. We can correct some things in what we're calling and give ourselves a better chance to win. And I thought they did a good job of that, you know, as the game went on. Early, you know, it was ugly. But as the game went on, and it wasn't about what Cumberland stopped doing. It wasn't about Cumberland changing, because 3 played most of the game, their quarterback. They still took shots all game, and they still tried to run the ball and do things. So it wasn't them changing anything. It was just a matter of our guys continuing to battle. Now, at the same time, I thought Luke Shepardson, you know, he's a ball player. I think him, Odin, some of those guys are really good receivers, and he had the hot hand and made some things happen. And it was great to see Jagger come off the bench. You know, when Meglis got hurt, you know, Jagger came off the bench, and it's great also to have Manning, you know, Luke Manning, another quarterback that we can play also. So I thought Jagger stepped in there. One thing Jagger did a really good job of was staying in the pocket and trying to make some things happen and not panicking. And that's what you want quarterbacks to do. And young quarterbacks, that's tough on them. To his credit, you know, he hasn't been beat up back there yet, so that's good. But he stood in that pocket and tried to make some things happen and was very patient. We still missed some big plays that we probably could have had, but I thought he played really well coming off the bench.
I think it's a big thing to mention, too. It was on radio, so you didn't get to see him in the pocket if you were listening to the coverage. But we talked about it quite a bit, how he would stand in there, as Meglis seems to be a little bit more of that rollout, the play action. He's a very mobile quarterback. Right. But then you changed, and Gillis stood in that pocket, and there were a few times, you know, he just took it on the chest, but still delivered that strike across the field. And I think that's great awareness from this young quarterback already.
Oh, great job by him. I mean, he's really has potential to be a superstar in this league. And, you know, he's a big boy, so he got good field vision. And I thought he did a great job. Like you said, he stood in there. There was times he could have panicked, felt some heat. And at that time, I actually thought the offensive line did a good job also. They protected him because he was in the pocket. And we rolled some with him, but not a bunch. So that really helped him right there, I think, to just step up in there and be patient and make some things happen.
I think it's important. You know, it was 55-7 at the half. Tough go. You mentioned, you know, you can just drop your head and go on. But I said, you know, you have to come out, leave that first half behind. You got to forget about it. It happened. It's in the past. Now you have to go out there and win the second half. And I think the Tigers really came out there and won that second half.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, you can't crash. You got to keep fighting, and that's part of the turnaround process. You know, as we're reclaiming our value in this league, part of that is to continue to battle them. We still gonna have some knocks. I mean, we're not there yet. We still need another recruiting class to go with these guys, but these guys understand they can win, and they're gonna play to win. And like I said, to their credit, and with young leadership, to their credit, they didn't cave on us at halftime. They came back out and said, let's go, and let's go battle. And, you know, if not for their return there where they score there toward the end, you know, it's even a closer game. And we blew some opportunities. But our guys aren't going to quit. They're going to play. And I think we got a top 8 ranked team or something like that coming in this week. And I don't know what it'll be, but I guarantee we'll show up and play.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll give you a break from the hot seat, and when we come back, we'll bring in quarterbacks coach and former Fighting Tiger Hunter Brown when we get back on the Perry Thomas Show.
Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out. But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. As veterans, we can tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. But you've never been interested in easy. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. Beside me, I have former Fighting Tiger and quarterbacks coach Hunter Brown. Coach Brown, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good, man. Doing good. Good to be here. Good to kind of sit down with you for the first time and catch up. So
certainly glad to have you in the seats. My first time getting to interview you. One heck of a player. I'll just go quickly through your resume. You have pretty much every passing stat in the record book except for completion percentage, and you're only off by 0.3%.
Yeah.
So basically just about every record in the book. You're a first-team All-American, a Player of the Year for NCCs, and an NCCAA Victory Bowl champion. One heck of a resume as a former Fighting Tiger.
Yeah, man. Just very blessed, very blessed. A lot of hard work, a lot of great coaching that was implemented into my life. Tribute to and shout out to my guy, Hunter Cantwell. He was my position coach at the time. Had a good quarterback in front of me, Jake Russell. We competed every day. Everything we did was competitive. Nothing was combative. That was a big thing that we always implemented in our group. Same thing I implement in my group as well. But a lot of coaching, man, a lot of blessings and a lot of hard work, and it all paid off. So. Yeah.
And our quarterbacks have looked very good. Meglis this season has really come in and looked like he's settled into the role of starter, able to manage the game a lot better and look like he really just goes through his progressions and everything a lot better and makes the better choices this year compared to last.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's done a great job of kind of like you said, managing the game, managing the offense. And really what we try to do is put him in situations where he can have more success. And we're able to do that by creating high percentage throws. There's a saying that I have with my group, and once again I learned from coaching as well, is don't pass up one to get to two, and you can't go broke taking a profit. And so I think that's something that he's really bought into, and you've been able to see that on Saturdays in his play as well. So
Meglis has been beat up a little bit throughout this season, taking a lot of big shots. He leaves the game against the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Gillis comes in, and this looks like a totally different quarterback in terms of the style of play. Meglis, a lot more of a rollout guy, very mobile. And then Gillis comes in, and he just stands in the pocket. He'll take it on the chest and make that throw.
Yeah, Jagger has a lot of promise. Very bright future ahead of the young man. He's super coachable. He's like a sponge when you talk to him, and he just soaks up everything. He's got tremendous work ethic, very good natural arm talent. But man, his mechanics are second to none as far as his throwing mechanics and things like that. But I do see a lot of promise in Jagger. I see a lot of myself when I watch him throw, when I coach him, when I see him in drills, when I see him on Saturdays and things like that. And we also have another young quarterback, a young freshman, Luke Manning. He's from Tennessee. He has a lot of promise as well. He's one of the hardest workers on the team. He's a very disciplined kid. So there's a lot of promise and a lot of bright stars coming up in that quarterback room for sure.
There are a lot of good Mannings from Tennessee.
That's right. That's right.
So we're lucky to have one on our team now.
Yeah,
but anyway, other than that though, what do you take into from your playing days coaching your quarterbacks now? Is there anything that you like to use from your drills maybe that you competed in, anything that you've tweaked?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's stuff that I learned, from my previous position coaches that I've had. I started out at Western Kentucky, went to East Mississippi Junior College, and then finished up here at Campbellsville. So I've had a wide variety of coaching from all different levels, from Division I to junior college to here at NAI. And my position coach came from the NFL, Hunter Cantwell. So there was a lot of different things to learn. And really what I try to implement in my guys is, you look at our staff right now, there's really only one guy, myself, that's kind of played that position. And so I'm able to have that relatability to those kids, and they're able to understand things kind of how I did it. But really my experiences is just passing on my experiences to them. They take it with a grain of salt, they take it for what it is, and they try to apply it. I tell my guys all the time, don't be me, right? Don't be me, just take what I'm coaching you to do and be you, do it your way. But just apply coaching. And I think the guys have done a great job of soaking that in and taking that in and kind of making it their own. But there's always drills and techniques and things like that I'm always tweaking. Sometimes it's trial and error. But at the end of the day, any drills that I do, any thing in practice, individual, everything I do is trying to implement something that could happen in a game. That way when it does happen in a game, it becomes muscle memory. Their reaction, where to get the ball out to, their check down, timing, all that stuff plays a part of it. So.
How much easier does having receivers like Andre Seiler and Patrick Oden make it on your passing game and make it on your quarterback?
Yeah, it's a world of difference when you got guys that can catch the ball and get open. And another guy in there is Luke Shepperson.
Yes.
He's coming along this year, really hitting some big strides. He runs good routes. He finds a way to get open. And really a quarterback is nothing without his receivers. And I'll tell you what else, he's really nothing without his O-line. So everyone works together. Everyone's doing their 1/11th. But yes, absolutely. Got to have people around you, a surrounding cast, in order to make that quarterback shine a little more.
Luke Shepperson was actually our Kentucky Farm Bureau Player of the Game, had 193 yards and 13 catches.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes a world of difference for your quarterback when you go out there and you have a guy like Luke or have a guy like Seiler where you can kind of throw that ball up and he's just going to go and get it.
Oh, no doubt about it. And like I said, I mean, anytime you can put your guys in position to make a play and they make that play, you kind of want to keep coming back to them. I know as a quarterback, one of my receivers, his name was Keanu Young. He wasn't the biggest guy, the strongest guy, the fastest guy, but he found a way to get open, and he always caught the football. And so as a quarterback, when you get those guys who consistently catch it, and they get open, and you just find that rhythm with them, there's really nothing that can stop that rhythm. And that's something that builds that confidence, builds that trust within each other, and executes on Saturdays.
So we're coming up on a pretty big home game versus Bethel. They're number 6 in the nation, so a tough defense as well. They have 9 interceptions. You have a relatively younger quarterback coming into the ball game, hasn't had a super big amount of reps this season. Do you see that being a weakness or maybe a strategy of helpfulness, seeing the fact that they haven't had much film on him?
Yeah, there's definitely some pros and cons to it for sure. I tell my guys, try not to look at the hype of really what their rank is or anything like that. At the end of the day, we're playing their defense. Their defense is playing our offense from an offensive coach standpoint. But I think Jagger will do fine. I think he's going to go out there. I think he's going to play his game. I think we do things as far as, putting him in the right position to be successful. Giving him some throws, giving him some check downs, giving him some progressions where he can get the ball out quick and have a high percentage completion. And I think that's something that we're going to do as coaches. But I'm really excited to see how he responds and goes out here and plays against a very, very good Bethel defense. So
I like to ask former Fighting Tigers maybe a favorite memory of yours throughout games. I know you've played in a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
Is there a favorite memory for you that stands out?
It's tough, man. There's a lot of fun memories. Most of my memories as a player, man, are honestly just the cutting up in the locker room with your buddies. When you're winning on the sideline, you're talking about what you're going to do after the game and just hanging out after the game. Those are really special moments. But man, probably one of my most favorite moments was in the Victory Bowl game in 2017. A lot of people were celebrating. Our team was celebrating. The fans were coming on the field. Everyone was getting excited, and I really found myself kind of just sitting back there. It was almost as if time had stopped for a moment, and everyone was celebrating. And I just caught myself looking around, and I was like, "Man, you know what? I really left it all out here on this field in my career and as a player, and I'm done playing." And it was such a very just a relief, kind of like a weight off your shoulder, like, hey, I fought the fight, I finished the race, and that moment right there will always be something I really cherish and value. Was just kind of looking around while everybody was celebrating, and time had stopped for a moment for me to soak it in and go out as a champion, and that was something that I will always cherish and remember during my time here.
Well, thank you, Coach Brown. Thank you for stopping by. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about the number 6 matchup with Bethel here at home with Coach Perry Thomas when we get back on The Perry Thomas Show.
To Sofia and Gabriel, even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
Welcome back to the Perry Thomas Show. Back in the hot seat, head coach Perry Thomas. Coach Thomas, the Tigers will have Bethel at home here. That one, they're 6-0. This is starting a tough stretch of football. Pikeville team coming up after Bethel that just dropped out of receiving votes, and then you'll take on number 12 Georgetown the week after that. So you're getting into quite a bit of good competition here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way the Mid-South, sets up. It's just it's a battle every week. You think about it, if we're in some other leagues, we're 2-0, 3-0 right now. I mean, as far as conference wins, but in the Mid-South, you got to be good to win. You can't be trying to arrive. You got to be right there to be competitive, because it's just a tough league, and every week is going to be a battle. This week you have, I think, number 8, Bethel. I think it's what they are. I'm not sure, but I know they're in that top. And they're well-deserving to be. I mean, you think about this is a team that went to Reinhardt, and people that know football understands how tough it is to win at Reinhardt. They went to Reinhardt and knocked them off, and they went to Georgetown and beat Georgetown at their places. So it's not just home wins. They're winning on the road, too. And when you can win those tough games on the road, then you got a special team.
Bethel is number 6. Actually, the poll came out yesterday, so they're number 6. They've jolted up there, but you mentioned some of their big wins, so you see why they're so high.
Right.
Another highly touted team in the Mid-South Conference. I mean, you just can't get away from that competition. Even your teams that aren't ranked are still good football teams.
Still good football teams, and you can see that when you look at us beating Union and St. Andrews, 2 teams from the Appalachian, and we beat them pretty handily. So even teams that aren't at the top in our league are pretty good against other people. So, Bethel's definitely one of the top 6 teams in the nation. And our job is to go out and not only trying to find a way to beat them, but first focus on us and get better. And I think if we can get better, then we can compete with anybody. I think we showed that against Lindsay, a Thomas More team that went down and beat Faulkner pretty good last weekend. We're right there a touchdown away from in that game. So we just have to work on us, focus on getting better, focus on improving and doing things, get off to a better start, not hurt ourselves with things, and make the 6th ranked team in the country beat you. Now, if they line up and they beat us 60-0 because they're that much better than us, then daggone it, they're just that much better than us. But let's not contribute to that by making the mistakes that we made in the first 20, 25 minutes against Cumberland's.
I think there's so many times where I say with any sport that you're a fan of that if you go out there and you get beat by a team that's better than you, that's one thing. But if you go out there and you just look like you don't even belong on the same field, that's when there becomes the issue. And I think even with Lindsey Wilson, I was thinking the same thing. We just go out there and fight against a number 3 team. And we went out there and we really, truly belonged on that field. And I think that we have the opportunity to do the same here.
Well, we like to hope so and think so. I think that we do. But they are a very talented team, experienced team in the right spots. And they have some guys on offense that can make some things happen. They have some skilled guys. Their quarterback's very steady. They have a couple of receivers that are dynamic and that can break plays, and a couple of running backs that can do the same thing. And then defensively, they play good team defense. So, defensively, no individual particularly stands out, but they fly to the ball. Defensive line, linebackers, secondary, cover well, get after you pretty good. So they have a team that's really set up to do well. Once again, we eliminate some mistakes. We can compete with anybody. Talent-wise, we're close to most. And our guys on the field, they go and they give you everything they got. We just can't make those critical mistakes, fumbling the football. When we 3rd and 1s, not being able to pick that up, we got to pick those up. Giving up the single pass play for a touchdown. Make them throw the 5-yard hitch. Make them throw the 10-yard dig. That's fine. Make the tackle. But we can't miss the tackle, and that 5-yard curl turns into a 25-yard touchdown. Those are the things that cripple you. You just got to give yourselves opportunities. Against most teams, we've done that. The last couple of weeks, we haven't done that. 2 weeks ago, we weren't emotionally ready. Last week, I thought we was emotionally ready. We just made those mistakes at the beginning, and then they capitalized on it. So we got to go out against this team with great confidence and believe in us and believe in myself, do my 1/11th, my part, And if we all do that together, then we have a chance to compete. And who knows, maybe knock these jokers off and upset the world,
We'll break down those points just a little bit. You talked about their skill players and some of their receivers. It is J.D. Dixon is one of the ones that stood out to me. He has over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, we've had a couple of good wide receivers in the past couple games that have just gotten into that secondary and caused havoc. Is there anything this week in practice that will be preached maybe going forward to deal with these kind of wide receivers?
It comes down to fundamentals. I mean, it really does. It comes down to fundamentals. Once again, you have to make them throw the ball to a spot, and then you have to make the tackle. The thing about DBs is you're going to be exploited because everybody sees you when you make a mistake, right? Nobody sees that D tackle when he doesn't squeeze a gap on a trap, and nobody sees the offensive lineman when he misses a block on a trap or something. But that DBs, everybody can see him, and then you start messing with that confidence. And we just got to believe and have confidence in our fundamentals and go out and make plays and not give them the home run balls. And they're a team that's capable of doing that. They're going to take a bunch of shots. They have a big old line, so they're going to take some shots at us downfield, not just because it's us and we struggle with that the last couple of weeks, but because they've done it against everybody. They're going to take some shots. They remind me of the old Lindsey Wilson teams. I knew when I was at D.C. that they're going to take X amount of deep balls per game. Well, this team's going to do the same thing. We got to eliminate those, but then make them throw those, once again, 8-9 yard curls and just make the tackle and see if they're patient enough to do that all the way down the field, but not give up the home run hitters like we saw the last couple of weeks.
Defense on the other side of the ball, they only have given up, they average about 10 points a game to their opponents, so that is a very staggering number. They have 9 interceptions and a defensive touchdown as well. They cause a few fumbles for a team that has fumbled a little bit more as of late. What do you see from this defense that maybe could be exploited?
Well, they play good team defense. They play good team defense. And, for us, once again, I think that anything we try to do can work. We just have to be on blocks. So when you look at things breaking down for us, it's because we're getting off blocks or we're not running to the right fit. Sometimes sacks and getting tackled in the backfield on runs or for 1 or 2 yards, everybody puts that on the line. But sometimes the backs don't go to the right fit. Sometimes quarterbacks don't step up at the right time, or they're reading the wrong side of the field and it's too long. So everybody just has to do their part. I think we have to do what we've been doing. We'll have some runs in there. We have our 4 backs, back now, with C.A. Collins back from an injury and Travion Hawkins, who played a little bit the last couple of games, ran the ball some the last game. So I think we have to utilize all 4 of those guys in different roles and kind of wear them down a little bit with that. We're not a team that can go in and just throw or just run. I know sometimes you get in the habit of running, everybody's like, throw the ball downfield, or you get in the habit of throwing the ball. Well, we got to run. We got to mix it up. And, a big key for us is not to get behind the chains. When we get behind the chains is when we get in trouble. So when it's 3rd and 6, 3rd and 5, that's when we're in trouble.
Well, I'm excited to see the game. I know you are as well. Thank you for stopping by and sitting down and talking with us. Thanks to Coach Perry Thomas and Coach Hunter Brown for coming in and stopping by. The game is actually pushed back a little bit, or pushed forward, I guess I should say. The game's now set for 1 o'clock kickoff due to a soccer doubleheader that's happening later on in the evening. So we will face off against number 6 Bethel at 1 o'clock, that one at Finley Stadium on Saturday. So be there. And if you can't be there, join us on our YouTube page at CU Sports Network, or join us on CampbellsvilleTigers.com, or radio coverage at 88.7 The Tiger. I'm Colin Sheffield. Thanks for joining the Perry Thomas Show.